Commander James Morrison had survived 3 wars, 2 assassination attempts, and a shuttle crash on Europa. Nothing could have prepared him for this. The Vani delegation arrived on a Tuesday. Their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a silver teardrop, landing in Geneva with the grace of a falling leaf. James stood at attention in his dress uniform, sweat trickling down his spine despite the cool autumn air. This was humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization, and he had been chosen as the military liaison. The Vani were stunning, tall and willowy, with skin that shimmered between blue and purple depending on the light. Their eyes were large and golden, set in faces that were both familiar and utterly alien. The ambassador, whose name translated roughly to Myra, stepped forward first. On behalf of the Vani Republic, we greet you in peace, she said through the translation device clipped to her elegant collar. James extended his hand, a gesture the cultural briefing had assured him was acceptable. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We're honored to host you. Myra looked at his hand with what he could only interpret as surprise. For a moment, he thought he had made a terrible mistake. Then she reached out and clasped his hand in hers. The touch lasted 3 seconds. Her skin was warm, almost hot, and incredibly soft. When they released, Mira's golden eyes went wide. She swayed slightly, and 2 of her aides rushed to support her. Are you all right? James asked, reaching out instinctively. She held up a hand to stop him. I am well, simply overwhelmed by your world's atmosphere. We should proceed with the welcome ceremony. The incident was forgotten in the whirlwind of diplomatic events that followed. James attended 17 different meetings, 6 banquets, and countless photo opportunities. The Vani were gracious guests, eager to establish trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Mira, in particular, was brilliant and quick-witted, navigating the complex web of human politics with impressive skill. 3 weeks later, James was summoned to an emergency meeting at the Vani embassy. He arrived to find the building surrounded by security, both human and alien. Inside, Mira sat in a chair that seemed designed to accommodate her longer limbs, her usually vibrant skin tone dulled to a sickly gray. Commander Morrison, she said quietly, we have a situation. What kind of situation? She gestured to a holographic display that materialized in the air between them. Images and data scrolled past, most of it in Vani script. But James could make out what looked like medical scans. In my culture, physical contact between individuals is far more significant than it is in yours, Mira explained. What you call a handshake is, for us, the initiation of a reproductive bond. James felt the blood drain from his face. I'm sorry, what? The touch we shared 3 weeks ago initiated a biological process. I am now carrying a child. Your child. Our child. The room spun. James sat down hard in the nearest chair. That's impossible. We're different species. The biology doesn't work. Normally, you would be correct. However, the Vani evolved with a unique reproductive system. We are what you might call universal genetic receivers. Our bodies can process and combine genetic material from any compatible sapient species. She paused. Humans, it appears, are extremely compatible. Why didn't anyone warn me? James demanded. Why wasn't this in the cultural briefing? Because it should not have happened. Physical contact between species is prohibited precisely for this reason. I assumed humans understood the significance of touch. I was wrong. Myra's voice carried a weight of exhaustion. The failure is mine. James ran his hands through his hair. Okay, what happens now? That depends on you. In Vani culture, the bond created by touch is sacred. The 2 individuals are expected to raise the child together, but I understand human customs are different. If you wish to be uninvolved, I will return to my world and raise the child alone. Are you going to be okay? Is the baby healthy? The gestation period is 4 months. All scans indicate the child is developing normally, though they will be a hybrid, the first of their kind. Mira met his eyes. I will not force you into fatherhood, James Morrison. You did not know what our touch would mean. James thought of his own father, who had died when he was 12. He remembered the hollow ache of growing up without that presence, the questions that would never be answered. Whatever else this situation was, there was a child involved. His child. I want to be involved, he heard himself say. I don't know what that looks like, but I can't just walk away. Relief flooded Myra's face, her skin brightening several shades. Then we will determine this together. The next 4 months were the strangest of James's life. He attended medical appointments where human and Vani doctors argued about gestational development. He learned to prepare Vani nutritional supplements, which smelled like burnt copper and tasted worse when he accidentally tried one. He studied Vani child-rearing customs and taught Myra about human traditions. They talked endlessly. James learned that Mira had been a scientist before becoming a diplomat, specializing in xenobiology. She learned about his childhood in Montana, his years in the military, his secret love of terrible action movies. They were from different worlds in every sense, but somehow they found common ground. The birth happened in a specially designed medical facility. James held Myra's hand, the irony not lost on either of them, as she brought their daughter into the world. The baby was perfect. She had Myra's golden eyes and James's nose, Vani's elongated fingers and human proportions. Her skin shifted between pale peach and light lavender. She's beautiful, James whispered, cradling the tiny form against his chest. We should name her, Myra said, exhausted but radiant. Something that honors both our peoples. They named her Luna, for Earth's moon, and Vela, for the constellation where Myra's world orbited its sun. Luna Vela Morrison. The media frenzy was predictable. The first human-alien hybrid became front-page news on every outlet across the planet and beyond. Scientists wanted to study her. Politicians wanted to use her as a symbol. Religious leaders debated what she meant for their doctrines. James and Myra learned to navigate the chaos together. They established a household in neutral territory, a small apartment in Geneva that accommodated both their needs. They took shifts with late-night feedings. They argued about whether Luna should learn English or Vani first, and settled on both simultaneously. Luna grew faster than a human child, but slower than a pure Vani. She smiled at 3 weeks. She spoke her first word at 2 months, a hybrid utterance that meant both star and home in their respective languages. She took her first steps at 3 months, wobbling between her parents with her arms outstretched. James had never expected to be a father. He certainly had never imagined becoming one like this. Yet as he watched Luna sleep in her crib, her skin slowly shifting colors as she dreamed, he could not imagine his life any other way. Do you ever regret it? He asked Mira one evening as they sat together on their balcony, watching the sunset. The handshake? She considered the question. No, the circumstances were irregular, yes. But Luna is a gift, and you have become someone I trust deeply. Not quite the diplomatic mission you planned. No, Myra agreed, a smile playing at her lips. Far better. Luna would grow up between worlds, belonging fully to neither and completely to both. She would face challenges that no one could fully prepare her for. But she would face them with parents who loved her, who had chosen to bridge an impossible gap for her sake. James Morrison had survived wars and disasters, but his greatest adventure was just beginning. It started with a handshake and became a family. In the vast complexity of the cosmos, sometimes the most profound changes came from the simplest gestures. He reached over and took Myra's hand, no longer uncertain of its meaning. She squeezed back, and together they watched the stars emerge in the darkening sky, the same stars that shone on both their worlds.